Oh, Summer and Winter Olympics?
Yeah, I remember her as a sprinter.
That's crazy. The voice of that piece is with us now, Kimberly Martin. Hi, Kmart. She is with us from the Combine. How we doing?
Hey.
Hey.
I'm good. How are you guys?
Oh, we're just great. Kmart's in Indianapolis right now, but she spends a lot of time in Cleveland, and that's where we're going to go right now. Because stop me if you've heard this before, but the Browns find themselves with quarterback questions this offseason. Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson are expected to compete for the starting position this year after Watson missed all of last season with that Achilles injury. Head coach Todd Monken spoke on Watson and the competition at the Combine. Listen to this.
I think any time that you have a player that at one time has exhibited the skill set at an elite level, I think you're always going to give them the benefit of the doubt that somehow we might be able to get that out of them again. And I think that's how you should look at every player. I've said that. You guys have heard me say it. I'm going to let it play out. I think it'd be completely unfair, just like it would be in any classroom setting, be it a history exam, and all the students walk in, and before they're actually given the exam, you give them a grade. Well, how would you give them a grade? Based on male, female, race, how they look, how they're dressed? I think that's unfair.
Okay, so he's going to wait and see, but yet he did point out, obviously, Deshaun Watson's elite skill level, or what we had seen in the past. Kimberly Martin, what was your reaction to what Todd Monken said?
Standing there listening to Todd Monken, I thought, oh, I'm going to be spending a lot more time in Cleveland this year. I think fans watched Shedeur last year end the season as the starter and felt good. While the win-loss record wasn't where the team wanted it to be, they saw flashes. They saw a guy who could be our starting quarterback. And I think fans, Browns fans, had kind of moved on from the thought of Deshaun Watson actually being the starter. But I can tell you, if you look at their quarterback room, they're expecting Deshaun to be healthy. And skill-wise, he's the most talented guy on the roster. We haven't seen Deshaun of old in a long time. But once Todd Monken said that, I thought, okay, this will be really interesting because we don't know who they might add in free agency or the draft. So there could be an influx of another quarterback in this room. But right now, Deshaun Watson is very much a part of this, which I don't think a lot of people were expecting.
I think there's two teams that are realistically or should be looking to 27 for their quarterback answers, 2027. I think the Jets are one, and I think the Browns are another. If you were asking me, like, where this room sits right now and where that competition should potentially be or who has the advantage or who should get the leg up, I would tell you Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders, to Kimberly's point last year, had some moments that were good, but 8 touchdowns, 11 picks, not super accurate in a bad situation, not in a bad situation. So there's nothing that you sit there and say, like, yup, that's the guy. But I do think there's enough on the tape to say, let's give him the first crack. Deshaun Watson hasn't played football, let alone good football, in about 5 years and been healthy to do so. From 2022 to 2024, he was objectively a bottom 5 quarterback in the league for a lot of different reasons. I just don't think the Browns should bank on that coming back from the 2021 and 20 versions of Deshaun Watson. And so I think if you're Cleveland, like, hey, Shedeur, if you can, take advantage of this opportunity and prove to everybody that you are starting quarterback, great. But more than likely, Cleveland's quarterback of the future is in that 2027 draft.
We haven't even mentioned Dylan Gabriel. Stephen A., go ahead.
No, I'm damn sure not going to mention him. I'll leave that to Dan Orlovsky. I ain't going to mention Dylan Gabriel. I ain't thinking about Dylan Gabriel. I'm thinking about Shedeur Sanders. Let me say this to you. 16.7 points per game, 29 out of 32 teams, 59% completions, 26th amongst 30 qualifiers, 73 passer rating, 29th among 30 qualifiers, 36% success rate, 29th among 30 qualifiers. If you have those numbers and a new coach comes in and he's talking about he has seen elite skill level traits in you, he's giving you the benefit of the doubt, which is a plus, which is better than what Shedeur Sanders had last year. Because with Kevin Stefanski and his staff, they seemed very reluctant to bring him on board. When they brought him on board, they seemed reluctant to give him an opportunity. When they gave him an opportunity, they seemed reluctant for him to shine. So bottom line is that this is a better situation for Shedeur Sanders. There is no doubt about that. We wish him luck. He's got a lot to prove, like both of y'all have highlighted. But he does seem to be in a better situation with Todd Monken in terms of a coach apparently willing to give him a chance. I'm going to bring up the name Deshaun Watson for this reason. When I see some of these stats for a guy that got paid $230 million guaranteed, 19 starts in what is it, in 4 years? 19 starts, a 9-10 record, 61% completions, 19 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and an 80 passer rating. And I'm thinking about this, among 50 quarterbacks with at least 500 pass attempts since 2022, Dan and Kimberly, he was 42nd in completions, 48th in pass yards per attempt, 42nd in passer rating, and had the second worst sack rate behind only Justin Fields. My God, how awful can you be? There's nowhere to go but up, and Deshaun Watson is still getting paid. Let me look on national TV and tell Deshaun Watson this. Considering the Cleveland situation, combined with the money you're still owed, if you can't win the starting job in Cleveland this year, you need to retire. You need to retire. It's over for you. You need to retire because there is no reason why Deshaun Watson, who made 3 Pro Bowls in 4 years before going to Cleveland, by the way, and we all know the history and all that stuff. We ain't here to talk about that. But the point is, damn it, did you forget to play football too? That can't happen. So, yes, Shedeur Sanders right now, but there's no reason to believe that Deshaun Watson can't at least show up and possibly compete for the starting job in Cleveland. He can't do that, bro. Just retire.
Well, Steven took the words right out of my mouth because the question that Dana brought up, like who would have the advantage in this quarterback battle, my mind would easily go to Deshaun Watson should have the advantage being that he's a veteran quarterback. He's seen it all. He used to be one of the best quarterbacks in the entire league. And so if Shedeur comes in and claims that spot, what does that say? But I can tell you both that even when Shedeur and Dillon Gabriel showed up and Deshaun Watson was still rehabbing, he felt like this is still my team. This was not, so while the fans and while we're looking at, oh, okay, will the Browns transition to Shedeur, Deshaun Watson feels very much like this is still his offense, this is still his team. So we're going to see if he can stay healthy, get on the field, beat out these guys, and who else they might bring into this quarterback room.
Should Deshaun Watson be considered a starting quarterback, Dan?
No. Deshaun has not played good football in 5 years. No. That's why I can appreciate, I guess, his vantage point. This is Shedeur's opportunity. I don't think that Cleveland's going to add a big-name person to this room. And last year, Dillon Gabriel, I thought, outperformed Shedeur in the preseason and then really didn't do much with his opportunity. I thought Shedeur did more with his opportunity in the regular season. So unless Cleveland adds Malik Willis, and I don't think that's likely, or Kyler Murray, and I don't think that's likely, I just think this is either going to be Shedeur takes this and runs with it and does what a lot of people, I guess, don't expect him to do, or, once again, Cleveland is looking at 2027.
Dan, here's what I'm saying. You're not wrong. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just asking you to see where myself and I think Kimberly is coming from the standpoint when we point to the struggles that Shedeur Sanders had. What we're saying is that even though you have a head coach that's willing to give you the benefit of the doubt, saying let's get some personnel around them, let's get a new system around them, let's give them a chance because we've seen the potential, there is no doubt that if you're Deshaun Watson and you can show any semblance of what you once were, there's no reason for you, particularly considering the money that they're paying you, that they're not going to put you in a position where you have an opportunity to shine yourself. And I'm saying if you can't do it, like you're pointing out, he hasn't played good football in 5 years. Fine. If you can't do it, you need to retire because there's nothing definitively standing in his way. When you look at Shedeur Sanders, based on his level of production, sure, we believe that he could ultimately be an NFL quarterback, that he has a lot of improvement and he has some potential. But there's no reason to believe if you can ball at all, if you're Deshaun Watson, why you can't be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns this upcoming season, unless you're just straight trash.
Well,
there's nothing standing in your way.
Here's what I would push back on. If that's the case, if Shedeur can't beat out Deshaun Watson, then Shedeur's NFL future is about as bleak as you can get.
That's fair. That's fair if Deshaun Watson still looks the same. But I'm saying, what if a miracle happens and he shows some semblance of what he used to be? That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying him being bad, but Shedeur Sanders can't even do that. I'm saying it's hard to fathom, Kimberly, that Deshaun Watson just completely forgot how to play football. It's just hard. It's just hard.
It up too. Yeah.
Injuries, coaching changes, all of it. Nothing came out. Okay, fair enough. We'll talk more about this later. Remember, Shedeur Sanders made 7 starts. He completed almost 60% of his passes. Browns went 3-4 in the games that Shedeur did start. Kmart, enjoy the Indianapolis NFL Combine. We will talk to you later, girlfriend. Kevin Durant had some choice words about if international basketball is catching up